All right, let's go. Our next panel is sponsored by Honigman and Huntington Bank. I would like to introduce you first to Dwayne Barbat, principal of and partner of the Barbat organization, mostly known in this area as a convenience store, gas station operator. Dwayne has been active in retail, commercial real estate for about 10 years. Dwayne?
Sure.
Yes, it's right here, first one, and we'll go down. Aaron Bass of Honigman is a real estate attorney with a national practice representing clients located throughout the United States on their real estate transactions. Aaron represents a wide range of owners, operators, and users, focusing on the areas of office, industrial, multifamily, hospitality, lodging, and of course retail. Let's welcome Aaron Bass. You got your own questions there. Ron Goldstone is an executive vice president with NAI Farben and also serves as the past chairman of the NAI Global Retail Council with more than 30 years experience in this space. We're excited to welcome to the stage Ron Goldstone. Kevin Johnson is the CEO of the Detroit Economic Growth Corporation, a catalyst for economic opportunities and developments here within the city of Detroit. We're excited to have him here to the stage to talk about opportunities from the city and within the city. Thank you very much, Kevin. Appreciate you being here. And finally, Howard Lockhoff is co-founder and general counsel of Essex Title. In addition to this role at Essex, Howard is also co-founder of Vocal Ventures, a full-service real estate development firm based in Detroit. Has over 30 years of experience as an attorney across a broad spectrum of real estate, having previously joined his long-term client Dan Gilbert at Bedrock, Rock Ventures, and now serving as general counsel of both companies. I'm excited to welcome you to and introduce you to Howard Lockhoff. Thank you, sir.
You ready?
Yes, I'm ready. So, by the way, I'm moderating this session. Dwayne, let's start with you. So your family started off in the gas station, service station businesses, advanced and developed those traditional gas stations into some amazing convenience stores. I think you have more than 14 as of today and growing that portfolio. At what point in your career did you decide to transition into the real estate side of things?
It's a good question. Thank you, Derek. So when you're in the gas station business, you're part of the real estate business. Everybody can agree that the best real estate in any market is occupied by gas stations. So about 2012, we decided to start expanding on that part of our business, and we really had no choice at that time. We took advantage of a great tax tool called depreciation, and that's really the reason why we started doing it. We got into it. Depreciation, for anyone here that doesn't understand depreciation, it's a way to not really get a credit of paying taxes, but to postpone paying taxes by buying, say, a brick and mortar property, and then now you're deferring that tax payment. You're being able to invest in your business. You're able to expand your portfolio, and it was the reason we started, and we enjoyed it, and we just kept going. About 2010-11 is when we really started doing it.
A lot of your gas stations are really at some of the best corners, certainly in Oakland County, Bloomfield Hills, 14 Mile and Orchard Lake. How are you able to source these properties, or what goes into the thought process of determining where you want to invest your money?
It's just going after it. It's spending the time, putting the time in, and sometimes a lot of people ask me that question. Wow, it's great. How are you able to land that property? I've got certain developments or certain properties that we bought that we planted a seed, and then after that, up to 3 years before we actually close on that property. For some of these landowners, it's the once in a lifetime transaction for them. They've inherited it from their family. It's emotional. So we'd go in and make great relationships, be persistent, and able to come through and being able to get some of these corners.
Great. Howard, you wanted to add?
Dwayne, do I have a live mic or not?
Yeah, you do, but just hold it close.
Dwayne, just with the advent or the influx of electric cars and gas stations, do you have charging stations at your gas stations? Do you see the future with gas stations becoming charging stations? You see them becoming obsolete? I mean, what does that do to your business?
Well, we're definitely investing in the infrastructure right now for charging. You remember, Howard, when we were younger, you'd see a gas station with a little tiny hut as a convenience store. Gas was really the only income source at that time. Now there's several different income sources, and electric will be one of them. It's not there yet. I think Michigan has not broke 2% yet for the amount of EV cars that are on the road. You go out west, it gets a little bit higher, but definitely it's something that we will move to, and when the time is right, it'll definitely be part of our income stream for sure. And these gas stations sitting on Main and Main, hard corners, they're not going to go empty. There's always going to be a draw there for sure.
Ron, with your more than, I'm sorry, I don't think I need this. With your more than 30 years experience in retail brokerage, advising clients throughout the country, what are you seeing in terms of that transition? Are some of the other retailers developing projects with electric vehicles in mind and charging stations, and how are they getting ready for the technological shift?
Obviously, that's a great question. I haven't heard a lot of that at this point. Most retailers are probably looking to design into their site plans, areas where they can, have the EV charging. But that has not yet been a big topic as far as what we've run across.
What are some of the things that you're running across today?
The biggest challenges today are defining, what in fact is where retail is and where it's heading. What's interesting, and a lot of what Joey Agri was talking about, and a lot of what the earlier speakers were talking about, is the healthiest retail today tends toward neighborhood retail. The retail where you've got your grocery store, where you've got your other services to feed the immediate area, the immediate trade areas, and the other conveniences for your dry cleaners, your pizza carry-out, and so on and so forth. The biggest challenge today facing retail is when you step away from that neighborhood retail and that service retail, and then you go to your power center retail, which the best power center retail, the best locations are arguably more valuable today because they're visited by human population. 70% plus or minus of the GDP is consumer spending, and consumers have chosen, very clearly they enjoy getting products delivered to their porch versus going shopping. So the best power center retail, which is getting that population to shop, arguably is more valuable today. Your best regional malls is more valuable today. The real rub facing retail today is what to do with that secondary, that B and C mall, that B and C power center. That's really, in my eyes, and what we've experienced, the biggest challenge today facing retail.
Kevin, I wonder if you could comment on what Ron's talking about within the city of Detroit. You've got 139 square miles to work with. Some people might say you have a difficult job. I know you, and I know you have a fun job. And you get to sort of play a change agent for the next generation of retail. We know that retail in the city of Detroit has changed. The landscape has changed. The consumer spending has changed. People's access to goods is changing. How are you able to, from the DEGC's perspective, leverage some of the economic tools available to help make and improve the city?
Well, we do believe, and thank you guys for having me. We do believe that there is a different dynamic when it comes down to doing retail in the city of Detroit. We recognize that. We know that there are limitations associated with the work, but that doesn't preclude you developers to not come try. And what frustrates the hell out of me is you won't come try. And the power centers that you represent are the net beneficiaries of you relying on a Detroiter to getting his or her car and come see you. I'm not trying to be provocative, but the fact of the matter is, you rely on Detroiters to come see you, and you don't come see me to come invest your dollars in neighborhoods that need it the most. So we talked about neighborhoods. When Detroit was thriving, it was because its services and its goods were minutes away and not hours away. Now, we certainly understand that the economic conditions of Detroit have changed. Quite frankly, they are improving. But, you know, you guys are in the risk business, last time I checked, right?
Dwayne?
Look down here.
Dwayne, he's talking to you.
Yes.
You're in the risk business. No risk it, no biscuit, according to Bruce Arians. So I would hope that we could provide information to you to validate and justify reinvestments in Detroit's neighborhoods. I'm not trying to tell you to go down places that don't make sense, because I wouldn't do that. That's a bad reflection on me as an economic development professional, to put you in a position where you can't win. What I want you to do is win. I want all of us to win. But I have to give you information that helps you do that. And I can do that with certain tools that we have available for retailers, not just industrial and commercial developments, but for retail, because we know that that's a desperate need for Detroit. $1.2 billion a year goes out of the city of Detroit. $1.2 billion. Out. Not come back. Out. And so, last time I checked, billion is a big number. So if we can create conditions for you to come back and reinvest, even on a smaller scale, or redevelop on a smaller scale, I think that's well worth the exercise, and we'd be willing to help you do that.
Thank you. Howard, I know you were at the forefront of advising Dan Gilbert, partners, and other investment opportunities in the city. Can you comment to what Kevin's saying?
I was actually going to amplify on that, and not to sound like a commercial, but having significant experience over the last 10 years working in the city with the DGC in particular and the administration, I found it to be refreshing, and I will use that word refreshing, because in my career, I was involved in a lot of municipalities, some good, some bad. But what I found in the city of Detroit in particular is a willingness to work through issues and foster development. And I would not be the least bit concerned, and I would encourage people to do that. We delivered this month, Jimmy and I, a parking deck to Ford in Corktown, and an 18-month build. It was a probably 18-month process. It was a great process. The city was great to work with. The county was great to work with. The successful project. I would encourage development in the city right now.
Aaron, I know the bulk of your work is in retail space. I have a question here. What are you seeing in the market with respect to retail net lease deal pricing as the cost of capital continues to rise? If you can give us some legal insights.
No, absolutely. And I would say I focus a little bit more on net lease retail as opposed to some of the traditional retail that other folks have been talking about. But I've seen a difference between net lease retail and really every other sector of real estate. I'm sure I didn't see Joey's presentation, but I'm sure Joey had a lot more to say than I would. But we've seen net lease cap rates and deal pricing sort of stay very low, or I should say cap rates staying low, but prices staying high, despite the increase in borrowing costs. And I think the two reasons that we've seen that happen are, net lease real estate's sort of unique position with 1031 buyers, and then also the low cost of capital that REITs such as Agree and others have, and their ability to not rely on those increased debt pricing or debt costs in order to buy these deals. So, when he said, was talking about, 350 deals to date, something like that. I think that's facilitated by a low cost of capital. And for retail real estate, I haven't seen some of the same softening on price or shrink in demand that I think some of the other sectors of real estate have seen with the increase in rates and the increase in borrowing costs. So it's a little bit unique, but still a hot sector. It's softening a little bit today. I don't know if you've seen any of that, Dwayne, when you're looking for deals, but maybe a little bit. But for the most part, prices are not coming down significantly.
Dwayne?
Yeah, there's definitely a demand. I mean, we just saw a once in a 100 year pandemic. And we saw the stock market literally lose half its value within 2 days. We saw money coming out of the government, and what's that doing to the dollar today? It's killing it. But I tell you what did happen was all those net lease, the guys that he represents, they all paid their rent. And people are starting to see the value in that. So when you see interest rates go up 150 basis points, it's you'd think it would be correlated with the cap rates going down. They're really not going down as much, but there are some opportunities for some really good stuff, and who knows? We might see that over the next 12 months or 18 months or so. But on our side, we're not seeing the cap rates drop, for sure.
Howard, have you seen the same on your end?
I'm experiencing the exact same thing. I've always looked at triple net leases as almost a bond. I was involved, in 20 years ago when the NAIC came out with the credit tenant loan program and did a lot of those loans. It's a bond, and it's a fluctuation. I think it's priced to a large extent as a bond.
Ron?
Yeah, I would agree with all the observations here. In all candor, great explanations of why, but I still don't get it. I find it unbelievable that cap rates aren't heading toward the 6 to 8% area in light of the current inflation and dollar values. But there are definitely plausible explanations here, but I still find it perplexing in simple terms.
It's like a cliff. That's what you're describing.
Yeah.
It's a cliff. And when you look over and you think you can jump into that abyss, you're not going to make it. And that's what I'm seeing. What you see, you're not going to. You just can't make that. You can't make that work.
Right. I mean, I concur wholeheartedly with everyone's observations. I just can't understand it. I really think that the cap rate should be at this moment in time somewhere between 6 and 8%. Obviously depending on credit quality and so on. And I'm still finding, and I'm sure you guys are, values in the sweetheart markets of, California and Florida in the 4s, which I just don't get. And then, some other great markets in the 5s and that rarity of a 6. I mean, I just don't get it.
Well, let me ask you guys a question, because you may be a little bit closer than I am these days. Does the location of the real estate, take a typical Walgreens. Okay, so Walgreens is trading at, is it a 3 cap, a 4 cap, a 2.5 cap?
Maybe in the 5s.
Does it matter if the site is in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, or is it in Skokie, Illinois? Does it price
Location
differently or not?
Absolutely value is a big contributor.
I was going to say state taxes matter too. So, Florida
point.
obviously being a little bit more favorable than California.
I think what also makes a big difference is we saw the big boom of the drugstores back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and you can see a drugstore product in the same kind of market where there is a $28, $30 per square foot rent, and you could see a similar product in the low teens. And that makes a big difference in that cap rate. You're going to go after that that lower rent, lower price per square foot, so you don't have that threat that when it's time for renewal, they're going to come in and they're going to try to take you down. Happens a lot.
Absolutely.
Good point.
Yeah, Kevin, I'd like to ask, where do you see the greatest opportunity within the city today for investors and retailers?
I think I think there's two levels, right? There are the traditional kind of strong Detroit neighborhoods that have been stabilized for a long time. I do believe 100% that Detroit is under-retailed, period. I think there is a need associated with reevaluating the income and wage levels that are growing in Detroit. I'm still old school, so retailers follow rooftop kind of moniker, but I think that there is the established neighborhoods still need quality retail. So if you understand where those established neighborhoods are, I think that's a safe bet. I think the trends are associated with areas around Milwaukee Junction, Illinois, the 7 Mile, Jefferson. I found out the other day that the highest performing Meijer on a per square foot basis is a new Meijer on Jefferson Avenue, the Meijer Market, which is a neighborhood Meijer. You don't see I don't even have one of those in Bloomfield.
No, we don't.
God forbid, you know, Detroit has a product that the suburbs don't got. But anyway, that's the highest performing per square foot Meijer in the system. The Whole Foods near the hospital, highest performing Meijer. So I think those are solid neighborhoods, among others, where you can make quality investments. Don't be afraid to redevelop. You know, Detroit is not a greenfield site, as you all know. So you have to redevelop sometimes, and we can help you with that with some incentives. Me and Quentin can help you with that. But those would be where I would look. And quite frankly, avoid places where you don't feel good about. And I can tell you where those are as well. But I think that's how you approach that.
Aaron, how do you approach your clients when they tell you that they're looking to invest in certain markets? What kind of advice do you provide them?
Thinking about Detroit specifically, or
Anywhere.
anywhere? You know, it depends on what the deal is. If it's municipal heavy and you're going to need to get approvals for like a redevelopment or something like that, you know, we try to work with the municipality on that. So, for example, you may remember I had a client doing a multifamily deal, and you happen to know some of the municipal folks from your relationships. We had to reach out because we needed a zoning variance, and you were sort of instrumental in helping connect with the right folks that they've stayed in touch and stayed close with, you know, in order to facilitate that. A lot of times it's these kind of events and who you know at these municipalities and getting to know them well and having strong personal relationships as much as the development itself and its merits. So.
It's amazing who you know, right? It never fails. Howard, you actually have a relationship with Aaron. How did that?
I do.
Yeah, so explain a little bit for us the background of that story.
So Aaron's the ghost. Are you still the ghost or not?
I'm around. I'm here.
Okay. So Adam Jenke and I, at Honigman, what does this go back to?
2010, 11.
And we were looking for good real estate lawyers. And we were scouring the website at the time, and we came across Aaron Bass. And he said, "Oh yeah, Aaron Bass is great." And so we picked up the phone, we called him, and we recruited him, and we brought him into the firm. And I guess the rest, as they say, is history.
Right.
So
yeah. History. Didn't think I'd outlast you there, but you know.
Well, you did.
Ron, let's talk a little bit about the advice that you give to your clients with a national platform like Farbman.
Absolutely. It's all about 100% understanding the opportunity, the challenge. Understanding, in my world, I'm mostly involved in the retail sector. And, you know, first and foremost, understanding, are there REAs, OEAs, are there internal documents, you know, limiting what you want to do or plan to do with the asset. Understanding zoning. Focusing on the asset, how is it designed? Where are the parking fields located? Are the current sizes of the units meeting current retailers' prototypes? There's a lot of moving pieces and a lot of value, you know, that experience can bring to the table. Generally speaking, you generally get involved in something where it's either an investor that's looking to buy something on a cap rate, which all of those items would be very important items to consider when moving forward, or it could be somebody that physically needs a space and is looking simply to lease it, or potentially buying the property and leasing a portion of it. But the most important thing is truly understanding what it is you're acquiring. What is the local municipality about? Again, if you need variances, and you know, talking a little bit about what I had mentioned earlier, I've never seen a time, and I know we've got a lot of municipalities here. I've never seen a time where municipalities carry the importance that they carry today. Current zoning ordinances, many of which were written before there was such thing as the internet, really don't necessarily reflect current potential uses for vertically improved real estate. And creativity is so deeply the buzzword today for very, very good reasons. You've got to take a really hard look at your zoning ordinances and be open-minded with the concept of mixed use and fully utilizing a piece of real estate. And, you know, just a general comment.
Howard?
So let me amplify on that a little bit. So you talk about zoning, and you talk about due diligence, and you talk about what you have, and one of the first things you should do is you should pull title commitment so you understand. So you look at, if you're from around here, you go just on Woodward Avenue, and you look at, and you're heading north, and you're at 16 in Woodward, and you see all that property right there, and it's vacant. Why is it vacant? Well, it's zoned residential, but it's deed restricted. So you can't get the types of developments that you want on that. So in those situations, you should call your friends at E-Title or at Essex Title or any title company that you have a relationship with, so that the first thing that I did always I did two things actually as a practicing real estate attorney. I went and looked. I put eyes on the real estate so I could see it, physically look at it and see and just get a feel for it. And I always pulled the title commitment so that I could understand what was out there so that I could go into it intelligently.
Dwayne, how do you go into these opportunities and deals? How are you sourcing them? What is the most exciting project that you're looking at right now, and how are you able to make a decision on what kind of real estate that you prefer?
Well, I mean, there's a few different type of markets. There's the urban markets. There's the new growth that's out there. Follow the next development. But my style of developing is the established markets, the prime markets. We look for properties that we call infill properties. So when we're looking at, whether it's just a straight raise and rebuild, but we're also trying to identify why a project is not performing, why it's underutilized, where can we add value in that project. So, we're looking at, can you put in a drive-through? Can you remove a drive-through because the circulation's bad? Can we reduce GLA at parking? That's gross leasable area. Can we add it and bring in more revenue? Access is important. It seems like early in my career, the municipalities weren't as strict on access. Now it's like the traffic engineer is there for these developments, and there's more and more of an emphasis on it. So, all these things I've learned the importance of them from my gas station days. Visibility, I've taken a building and I've raised it 12 feet of just fake space, just parapet space, just to create visibility. I'm currently in a position right now where I'm trying to buy a building that I'm just going to strictly buy it just to knock it down and open up visibility for a site. So those are the things we're looking for. And, Howard mentioned E-Title, pull it, call your friends, this and that. It's so important. I think that one of the most important things is to build your team, have the right people in place, and those people, you want to make sure you have access to those people. You're picking up the phone, they're there for you. A lot of my guys that I work with exclusively are in this room right now. My engineers are here. They have a great model that we can take a Google Earth image, overlay a site plan on it before we even have a survey, before we have dimensions, and they're very close to being spot on. That's a great tool. That saves me a lot of time. If I pick up the phone and I want to call my GC, I want to bring him in to take a look at something for me, time's important. So to have that team is probably, to me, the most important thing. Use those guys as your resource and make sure they're there for you when you need them.
Have you ever had the opportunity to work with Kevin Johnson's team at the DEGC? I know you have some projects in the city.
Yeah, I have not.
You have not.
I
so
have
as a
not.
retailer, I'm going to make my investment, I'm going to risk it or biscuit, like he said earlier.
He was talking to me, and I was surprised. I mean, we've worked in Detroit,
Yeah.
and we've had success in Detroit, and we love Detroit, and we're currently working in Detroit.
I think I got a
we've done
customer for you over here.
We've done about half a dozen projects in Detroit, and we've had success there. The pandemic did slow things down, took the people out of it. It's going to slow things down. So, but we love the city. And we definitely want to keep working there. And then I think that when the right project comes, we will definitely give Kevin a call.
Very good. Very good. Howard, thank you. Howard, what's the most exciting project you're currently working on?
It's a great question. We just delivered, as I mentioned before, the parking deck. We're looking at a couple other opportunities. In my world, I've got a bunch of things, not necessarily straight real estate related, but I'm operating the Stretch Zone stores in Metro Detroit. I'm operating a cannabis company, and the title insurance business. Jimmy and I partnered with Starwood Capital about 18 months ago, and we started Essex Title. And while it's not a true real estate project, it gets us back into, real estate on a regular basis. So, you talk about having the right people on the team, Dwayne. It gives it gives me, frankly, as a recovering real estate lawyer, the opportunity to get involved in a transaction again. And so we've got so many transactions, and you touch every single one of them, and you make sure that they get done. As a transactional attorney, it was getting to the finish. It was getting a deal closed, the execution. You're helping the execution, kind of from a different seat. But it's fun working with the people that I've worked with throughout the years, but just from a different place.
Kevin?
There, one thing that I think you'd asked me kind of where in Detroit would be a good place to. One place that I totally blanked on, and until Howard said something about the parking deck over at Michigan Central, there's 5,000 people that are going to be down there in about 24 months working at Michigan Central. And you're talking about, is it eclectic? Yes. Southwest Detroit is eclectic. Yes, that's what makes it what it is. But there's also an immense amount of apartments, developments that are going on in that area. So they'll be living and working and playing, but I still believe that area is under retail. There is no branded grocery store in that area. So I would love to take what I just described to you at the Meyer on Jefferson and put one in Southwest Detroit, because it's needed.
It's totally needed.
It is.
With the same kind of incentives to the developer to help them open their retail doors?
What kind of mood I'm in. I mean, if I'm in a good mood, maybe. If I'm not, then, go, do what you do. I mean, if it's a good market, it's a good market. You shouldn't have to incentivize a good market.
I know a lot of people in this room that never asked for $1 when they came to open up a store, but they'll take if it's available, right?
No,
it helps the bottom line.
We're most certainly willing to help with gaps, right? And just because it's available doesn't mean you should get it. The market is incentive enough, and what we want to do is help those who need that assistance to bring that deal across the finish line. We're absolutely willing to do that. But Southwest Detroit is an area that is under retailed, probably over restauranted, but if there's a word, but under retailed, and I think that's a great opportunity for developers.
And I'll add to that, being in that area, if you haven't been to Corktown in particular recently, it's probably worth going down there. Go down there for dinner. I mean, there are a lot of restaurants there. But I think it's under everything right now. There's a major hotel that Randy Wertheimer's putting up, the Godfrey across from the old Tiger Stadium. Eric Larson's project is doing well. There's just people all over the place. And you mentioned Milwaukee Junction. Those are the two areas. We made a pretty significant investment in Milwaukee Junction also. And we think that there's these nice pockets, but Corktown for sure, and it's there. It's time.
Kevin, which retail project are you most excited to brag about when you're outside of the state?
Probably what's going on in Midtown Detroit, around Comerica Park, LCA, that area. Really excited about what Dan Gilbert and his team at Bedrock are doing around the Hudson site. I think that's going to reignite. Obviously, it took a bit of a hit with COVID, but I think it will reignite Midtown. I'm bullish on the Jefferson Avenue corridor, closer to with what's going on with the Riverfront Conservancy with Ralph Wilson Park. You're going to see an amazing amount of investment on the opposite side of the riverfront, and we're talking about beachfront property, right? You all know you have beachfront property in Detroit. I would love for you all to act like it and invest some money in the beachfront. You wouldn't be saying this if we were in like San Antonio, Texas, right? Which is a ditch that happened to be, they call it a river. But that kind of thing, I think, is going to be unique to where we see investment.
Very underutilized part of our gem of our community. Ron, any closing thoughts or advice for future retailers in the room?
What I would say is it's a little scary at this moment looking at retail in general with what is happening with consumer spending habits changing. But there's something very special, and I'll never forget this. Bert Farbman, the founder of our company, used to take whoever would show up at 7 a.m. out for breakfast every Tuesday morning. And sure enough, I was there with about 3 other people at first, and then it was just Bert and I. And he looked over at me and said, "Let me tell you the biggest secret. Change is a good thing. Change breeds opportunity. The people that do well are the ones that recognize the opportunity in change." We have a lot of change right now, and whoever is focused on figuring out what to do in the new reality is the one that's going to be, the true, economic, social, personal winner. And I've never seen a time in 35 years in this crazy industry with so much change. So I feel there's a ton of opportunity out there to figure out ways to do some great things in the retail sector.
Aaron, similar mindset, similar thoughts?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. The first project Howard had me do was, I guess, 12 years ago, and maybe at a time where, we were going through a recession and things were changing. Things were starting to upswing a little bit, and he had me pull title, he may or may not remember this, on a very large segment of Detroit. And I had to summarize it all. Who's the owner? What's the debt on the property? And we were looking for opportunities. What restrictions there are in place. You talk about, easement agreements, REAs, right, et cetera, and, cross easement agreements for access, getting back to that point. And, part of that was identifying opportunities. Who has debt where they're clearly not going to be able to meet it over the next couple of years? What's going to become available? What's a great property because it's got some rights, benefiting it that you wouldn't otherwise be aware of? And those kind of opportunities. And I thought at the time, it was tedious, it was long, but I learned a lot, and I learned a lot by pulling title and looking at all the title work that Howard made me do. Took weeks.
I think I asked you to do it. I don't think I made you do it, Aaron.
Asked me very politely to do it. At 7 in the morning when he made me come in.
I think I suggested to you that the early bird gets the worm, something that I learned from Bob Sosnick, by the way.
It was a nice suggestion, although I couldn't get in the building till you showed up at 8 o'clock. But yeah, sure, that worked. No, but it was a great opportunity, and getting back to what Ron said a little bit, it showed opportunity. Pulling title itself is not something that you see when you look at real estate. And we found, hey, this guy's probably not going to make it in the future. Let's approach him now. Let's figure out, who's going to have properties that will be available, not just now and today, but maybe over the next couple of years. And that bred some opportunity. So getting back a little bit to title, Detroit, and, finding those opportunities, there may be a time again in which that's going to make some sense for folks and ways to find deals in a market where it's hard otherwise to find things available.
Dwayne, let's wrap up with you on advice that you have to the aspiring retail developer.
Advice is retail. I love retail. It's a significant part of my portfolio. But my advice is diversify. Diversify because industries get interrupted. And you need to adapt and change. And it's nice to know that once you're going through a change, you've got other areas that are still producing, and just be able to have 2, 3, 4 different types in your portfolio is my advice.
That's good. All right, I think I got time for one question. Okay, all right, maybe 2, Frank. Geez, all right. Hey. All right, Don.
My question is kind of for Kevin and maybe Howard. I want to get Kevin's response, and maybe Howard's plan is that whenever we have company or have a celebration, we love Detroit and love to get down to Detroit. But then as we're driving down, we drive through Highland Park. And I always wonder, what's the thought of what's going to happen there? Is there any thought for other development? And then what's Kevin's thoughts about what happens in Highland Park as you're heading down?
So this is a Highland Park question, right? Okay. Obviously, we are, the mayor of Detroit, Mike Duggan, is really has this new kind of initiative called Blight to Beauty. And in the Blight to Beauty initiative, we are identifying particularly large, older industrial locations around the city to either take them down or redevelop them. I'm a firm believer that we can't attract companies to cities that won't invest in themselves. And a part of that is cleaning the place up. I moved here from Atlanta. Y'all might hear some Southern kind of in my voice a little bit, and I don't apologize for that. I'm a proud son of the South. But I think that if we could model the way for a Highland Park, which we don't have any jurisdictional power over, I think that there are federal programs that I know that they've identified to help them with that. For an example, along Hamilton Avenue, they put in bike lanes. I think bike lanes in Highland Park. Okay. Makes sense, looks better, but there are other parts of that city that does have a bleed over effect, quite frankly, into Detroit. And so we have to kind of be a partner with them in working with them to improve the aesthetic of that jurisdiction.
And let me just chime in for a second, because I've been, Danny started in 2010 downtown. So for the last 12 years in particular, I've been driving downtown, and my route is Woodward Avenue, and generally Woodward Avenue the whole way down. Maybe I'll take it to the Davidson. But in the last 12 years, I've seen significant positive change in the Woodward corridor, all the way from Bloomfield all the way downtown, and you can almost see it if you're really paying attention to it in the little pockets, and then they start expanding. I ride my bicycle downtown, and I'll ride it down Woodward Avenue. When I get to Highland Park, I just smile. There's less potholes than there were 3 years ago. I love, frankly, the history in riding by Highland Appliance, which was the first Highland Appliance. For those of you, there's some of you who are as old as I am and know what Highland Appliance is. And I would be encouraged by Highland Park and seeing how it's better. And there's going to be, in our lifetime, Woodward Avenue from the river all the way to Pontiac is going to be, whatever the best pocket is today, it's going to be all the way.
Frank?
This is for Kevin. So I've been in and around Detroit since 1986. I've owned several properties in Detroit, a lot of retail. And recently I've been really disappointed. I own a 80,000 square foot steel facility on Cornet and McNichols, and I'm looking to expand another 40,000 square feet. It's been 2 years that I've been going through the Detroit, through the land bank, and I've gotten all the runarounds. I've been to every department. I've hired a consultant that's been working with the city, and we have gotten nowhere. We've got all the blueprints done. We've done all the work. Everything has been done. We're just trying to acquire the property and develop it, and it's been 2 years. We have gotten nowhere. You talk about investing in the city. I've been in the city. I've invested a lot in the city, and I look forward to doing business in Detroit. I love Detroit. It's gotten very, very hard with not being able. I'm old-fashioned. I love coming to the counter, getting to the building department, finding what I need to do, and go forward. And with you guys closing everything down, not being able to see anybody, everything's, leave a message or via the internet, nobody responds to a lot of the questions we have. And till today, we've got everything completed, yet we haven't even acquired the property, nor are we able to start any kind of construction. So what's your advice?
Well, you called out about 3 different agencies, and the agency that you didn't call out was mine. So, what you need to do, sir, and I will give you my card as soon as I jump my butt off this stage, is give you my card. We are, just so we're clear, I am not a department of the city. Okay? That should tell you all you need to know right there. So if you could just connect with me, what we need, however, and I'm glad you said you wanted to add 40,000 square feet. We are under inventoried on industrial and commercial space. And we have demand and no supply. So if you, sir, want to add 40,000 square feet to help me do what I'm supposed to do, which is deliver jobs and investments to the city of Detroit, we need to be partners. So I'll do all I can to help you.
The art of networking and building power connections. All right, ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for our panel.
And ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Derek. I don't know if anybody takes the time to thank him for everything that he does
Thank you.
and put on
Thank you, Derek.
his team for this wonderful event.
Thank
So
you.
thank you.